Okay, not yet. I'm gonna call this meeting of the Public Health and Safety Standing Committee, meeting of February 25th to order. Everybody have a chance to read through and minutes?
Yes.
They look good to me. I assume that you were happy with them, Ann?
Very pleased.
That's my assumption of the day. Okay, so I guess we'll just,
I'm looking forward to Tom's, is he coming tomorrow night, Tom?
Tonight?
Is Tom coming tonight? Okay, good.
okay. And then I guess we'll leave it up to you, Chief.
Sure. Currently, my monthly report is 90-something odd % done for the month of February. Obviously, have 3 days left. We're sitting on about 121 calls for service right now this month, which isn't not huge. Notable mentions, though. I brought Sergeant Webb here to speak to it a little bit better than I can, but the other day, through intel that Red Lodge PD collected, they were able to seize 11,800 fentanyl pills that were going to be distributed throughout the state of Montana.
And where were these confiscated?
They were confiscated.
I mean, as much as you can tell me.
Yeah, so I can't go too much into the investigative side, but they were on their way here from Washington when they got intercepted by a case that the sergeant and one of my officers have been working on for...
the case is relatively new. I'd say probably three months ago, is when everything was initiated, and then obviously a lot of subsequent work on the back end, just coordinating with other agencies and stuff like that. We were able to get a pretty significant seizure. I think this was last week, right, Greg?
Last week, Thursday morning or Wednesday morning? One of the two.
It was either Wednesday or Thursday morning, really early, so.
So the last, I would say, 6 months, over how much meth?
It was right in between a ½ pound and 3/4 pounds of meth just in the past couple of months.
Yep, 11,800 fentanyl pills. We did the math last week. I had to take a photo because I was going to forget the number, but a grand total of street value of $364,350. And that's from it all originated with Red Lodge PD's investigations, these guys here. So
So these come into Red Lodge,
mm-hmm.
and they're for distribution all over the state?
So all 11,800 were not coming to Red Lodge, because that would
But
but however,
we'd have a bunch of dead bodies.
it wouldn't be good, but disseminated throughout the state of Montana, yeah.
Now, what happens to these fellows? Are they promptly taken to YCDF, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the Fed's got hold of them now, so they're in some deep trouble.
That's good.
Yeah.
The
So,
feds don't mess around.
no, they don't have a sense of humor when it comes to this type of amount.
So they were taking the feds.
Yep.
Good job.
Yeah. Well, it's nothing that I did. I just took the leash off my guys and let them do their job. That's all it is.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Is your first name Brandon?
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yep. Anything else to add to that? That I'm not, because I don't know. These guys are a lot more well-versed in this than I am.
Well, I know you can't tell us a lot, but that's...
I would say we're definitely seeing, a ramp up when it comes to narcotics, not just coming to Red Lodge, but obviously the state as well. The pink fentanyl pills in these pictures, this is a new variation of fentanyl. It started from down south, worked its way up through Colorado, and then subsequently to Montana. However, our intel is telling us that this actually came from the state of Washington, which kind of leads us to believe that it came, north of that. But just in the past, 2 to 3 months, this seizure here, almost the 3/4 pounds of meth, and then thousands of dollars of cash have been seized just based on the work that our guys are doing here, and then obviously communicating with other agencies. I know that our partners that we've been working on with all these cases are super pleased with the work that we've been able to do. And this, I can tell you this, and this isn't really talking too much about the case, but this originated off of just a regular routine traffic stop, where there was a small amount of narcotics and paraphernalia. And then obviously what separates us from, maybe some of the other agencies, is that we do a lot of work after the fact. We don't just take something at face value, you know, take a little bit of, narcotics or paraphernalia, get that off the street. Obviously, that's important. But something that's, paramount to us and the culture that we're trying to build is what we're doing after the fact. That's what has a heavier difference in our area, as you can see.
Jordan, was a dog involved?
On this one was on its way, but, the individual ended up just saying what was in there.
Okay.
So, we didn't have to on this one. However, with the meth seizures, I would say half, or the quarter pound of meth, the first one, Grizz was used in that one. So, that was a good one for him.
A lot of the, kind of like if I do an imaginary link analysis here, the big one is right here, the dog was here, and here, you know what I mean? The thing with fentanyl, it's kind of tricky. Not a lot of dogs have that imprinted on them, which means, when I say imprint, our dog is cocaine, methamphetamine, and heroin dog. So he's trained to detect those. Fentanyl can be imprinted on a dog, but it's very rare. There are a couple, I don't know how many are in the state, there's a few, right?
Yeah, there's a couple. It's new. Imprinting dogs on fentanyl.
Does fentanyl
Could be.
chemistry change a lot? Is that why it's difficult, or?
I would, if Chip was here, he'd be able to speak a little more.
Yeah, so you can imprint a dog on anything. You can imprint a dog on cash, you can imprint a dog on coffee. It's, this whole thing, what they're doing, and like, when you see a dog looking for something, it's a big game to them, because the end result is not the dog thinking, if the dog isn't thinking, oh, well, I just helped the community out by helping seize this amount of drugs. The dog wants his toy.
Yeah.
He wants
Toy, a treat, the loving.
It's all toy for our
Their
dog.
version of shaking a hand.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So he just wants to play. Our dog, Officer Schiff's dog, is rewarded with, playtime, his toy, and, just tug of war stuff. That's what he wants to do. And if he has to work to get that result, he will.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
Okay, so these fentanyl pills that you said may have come from Washington or even Colorado, where are they produced? We know?
South of the border?
China,
South of the border, it just depends. Obviously, you don't see a lot coming from, I would say, within the country. Usually a lot of this is coming from outside. I went to, interdiction school, which is essentially, criminal interdiction is, you know, making traffic stops, but obviously the goal is to get, you know, stuff like this off the streets. So there's a lot of training involved in that. And I talked to an officer from northern Colorado, and, she was talking about these, and we have not seen, the pink fentanyl yet, especially, you know, here in Red Lodge. Usually we're, you know, Billings is a little further behind than I would say Colorado as far as, you know, what kind of drugs are coming in. And then you kind of set us back a little bit further, but we're only, you know, 40 minutes from the interstate. So the closer you are to the interstate, the more things you're gonna see. So this is definitely not, homegrown fentanyl, just based on what I've heard and what I've seen.
As it sits right now, on an average, what these guys are doing, mainly two guys in my office, it's a team effort with everything that's happening, but not everybody wants to go out and work drugs. I have, guys that like work in property crimes, thefts, stuff like that, they're really good at it. But, you know, I have several officers in my office right now that are nailing down anywhere from 3 to 5 felony drug cases a week, and their work week is 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were these local? Anybody local?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
This-
awesome.
this-
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's, I just know this too,
Yeah.
this much. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
all started, with a couple local targets. So something that,
Okay.
we've been doing is, we've been trying to meet with surrounding agencies routinely. I think last year we were only able to do 2, larger scale meetings where we're just meeting with other agencies and partners, running names across each other, everything else, deconflicting, if you will. And then, just looking at what's happening in our community, what kind of, because with this kind of criminal activity, there's usually, quite blatant signs that you can see that, people are doing or, people coming in from billings, whatever it is. So you take those, obviously you build intelligence, you're just, watching what everybody's doing essentially, and you'd be surprised. It's, this is only one part of what we've done even in the past year. It's pretty blatant. I would say it's a significant problem in the area. And we're just working with other agencies trying to stop this, from coming in.
You just follow the cash trail? I mean, how much cash was with these?
It was
The street value of everything, I don't know how much,
Besides the
like,
street value, but the
actual
cash,
cash.
I think it was somewhere around 15,000.
which is nothing compared to what,
No, yeah, the narcotics that, and this is, the cash, if you get the cash, that's important, but this, this will prevent people from dying,
oh, yeah.
Obviously, the money is going back to wherever this is coming from, so more can come in. But this is a big hit because they're not getting any of the money off of this, and it's not, getting fed through our community.
Better still.
Yeah, so the cash, the cash is gonna mostly stay on the main corridors through the state. A majority of what we're gonna see here is obviously, narcotics, and then, smaller amounts of cash just, between individuals.
I think our last warrant that we served in the area, we hit a house a couple of times actually, in 2 weeks. You're looking at anywhere from $500 to $1,000 normally.
Which isn't
For
a
like,
lot of cash.
for an actual, distributor or dealer in the area.
And
It
see-
just depends.
I always thought that, it'd be like 20,000 or 30,000, it would,
It's not impossible. It's possible, it's not probable in this area. We're seeing low-level user amounts.
so not a ton of cash.
Yeah, our big dealers that we have taken down, that these guys have taken down, they're sitting on some cash, but they like to spend money, so it's not.
What do you do with the bills?
They're used as evidence, obviously, number one, and then the feds are responsible for destroying it, because they have their own method to their madness on how they do that. And so, we destroy our evidence, but when it comes to fentanyl, methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine, we.
They don't go to the drugstore.
Yeah, we don't go to
Yeah.
the dump and just torch it off. We send it off to agencies that are responsible for, drug incineration, I think is how they do it, right?
But you've got to hold on to it through the trial, which could be a long time.
You gotta hold on to it for a set amount of time.
Yeah.
And then I wanna say that a judge has to sign an order for evidence to be destroyed after a certain amount of time.
Sure.
But, yeah, so mostly what we're gonna see is obviously lower level cash. But that hit that the chief was talking about, that was a quarter pound of meth. So that's 10,000 some odd dollars worth of methamphetamine.
I have the number here, hang on. Like I said, I had to take a photo of it.
So, yeah, then they might have had, 5 to 1,000 on them, but you gotta think about how much the product is worth.
So this was from a traffic stop. What was the clue?
So I can't
As
really
much
go
as
into
you can.
that too much.
12,500?
Yeah, yep, that sounds right. But,
Was it
it's
someone
just,
that's known to you?
yeah, so I'll just.
Just trying.
I'll just put it this way, my partner and I work, I would say this stuff right here pretty much consumes what we do on a weekly basis. And, with his training and experience, my training and experience, we might be able to see a little bit more compared to somebody who's, fresh on the job and doesn't, that
Pulled them over for
those red
burnout.
flags don't really stick up as quick as they do for us. So a majority of what we do is this.
And you
I felt as
recognize
well,
the red
I-
flag and you recognize the red
Yeah,
flag and.
yeah, and obviously you gotta make a legal stop, everything else like
Oh, yeah.
that, because
I know.
what you want at the end of this is a conviction.
Yeah.
And obviously getting the stuff off the street is important, but you wanna see this all the way through. So it's important that from A to Z, everything is airtight. And that's, I would say that is something my partner and I pride ourselves in, is just keeping everything rock solid, so.
How long will it take to process this case? How much more time will you be involved in this case? Even though the feds took over, I imagine there's still more for you guys to do.
Yeah, any of these cases that we're working, they're far from over, because,
Spider web.
yeah, you might get one person, but then there's 3 other people associated with that person that, you know, now become the focus, because there's always gonna be somebody waiting in line to step up and take their place.
Yeah,
So that's what we gotta be ready for. And that's what I personally love about this kind of work, is it's a constant drive and a constant hunt. It never stops. It'll never stop. There's probably been 10 loads this size come into Billings since, you know, we got
Grab
this
that
one last
one.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Yeah, that's our month so far.
well, that's good work. I mean, geez.
Yeah, these guys,
Very interesting.
yeah, these guys, I'm very blessed to have the team that I do, that's no doubt about that.
Well, good job, you guys, appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor?
Where does the cash end up in the forfeiture fund and end up in the,
Depending on-
the dog?
Depending, yeah, right. Depending on where it's seized, we could put in, if we have officers assigned to task forces or, drug enforcement units, like throughout the county or different agencies, we could put in what's called a DAG order to, receive some of those proceeds.
The DAG is an acronym for something?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Oh,
so.
okay.
That's
I-
why
I-
they make it easy to be calling it DAG.
I got a guy in
Getting the
my.
money back.
Drug,
Yeah.
drug,
Yeah, drug-
Distribution.
Drug asset.
Yeah.
There's, drug asset forfeiture seizure fund, stuff like that,
Okay.
but a DAG order is a federal term.
Okay.
That's what they're using. And then like, for like something simple like a city-county unit, those funds, obviously, after a conviction and a seizure affidavit are put in, are distributed, I would say equally to, you know, the agencies that are,
That were involved.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Other news, I, received a call from Superintendent Mr. Fitzgerald the other day. They are moving forward with their, mill levy proposal to the public regarding the school resource officer. We had a good discussion. What he spoke about was, doing, 50/50 with the city and asking the officer to be present 20 hours a week. And I thought about it, and, because they wanted to do it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
They wanted to do it on a, not a trial basis, but like moving into a full-time position, which I could see both sides of that. My thought process on that was, you know, going before, you know, coming up to budget time and speaking with everybody, one of the things that I think that we could, are you good, or do you need another card?
No.
Okay. One of the things that I thought about was we have.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yep, yeah, thanks, Jordy, I appreciate it. One of the things that I was thinking about, since it does come up a lot, is, having an officer dedicated to school resource officer and then, potentially, municipal code enforcement. Or, you know, that was just one of the thoughts that I had. I spoke to the mayor very briefly about it this morning. It's a work in progress, so it's just a brief update of, where their thought process is right now.
It's a start, and I can
Yeah.
kind of understand their idea of 20 hours,
Mhm.
because this is something new in the school.
It's very new.
So you kind of have
Especially
to
the Red
build
Lodge.
on it
Yep.
with the kids and
Yeah.
the teachers and.
Yeah, the other thing too is we do have potential funding coming in from other sources. I know Danae has been,
With Lexipol and.
well, yeah, Danae has absolutely been working her fingers to the bone, doing grant writing for me.
Good.
She's a pro, so there's just a few questions that I have to answer, and then she kind of takes the ball and runs with it from there on.
So
The
we,
implications of this would be when we get to the budget, you'll recall that last year we had 25% of an officer, so that'd be 50% of an FTE so there would be an increase in the budget this year to accommodate that.
Yeah, there would have to be. Unless we can, even if we get a grant, it's not forever.
True, yeah, grants aren't forever, but it's a good starting point.
It is.
And, you know, and it's not just specifically for the SRO. And, you know, when I read through Danae's rundown of the grants, for a lot of stuff, it's for combating school violence, bullying, having an SRO present, combating, juvenile drug problems, having in-service training for staff and teachers in the school, safety lockdowns,
Wow.
everything from A to Z. So it's,
Each one is separate.
I'm sorry?
Each one's separate?
No, this is how we're explaining and, applying for the grant of what our needs are, pretty much.
All of those things.
Yeah, everything.
Well, good.
Everything that a normal police officer should be doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially in relationship to the schools.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a big one right there, I'd say. It's just,
Is there another, request for grant out for equipment or anything? I don't remember what else we were talking about.
there's one for body cameras. I'm still in correspondence with, I forget the exact name of the grant, but it said, we're still in back and forth with that right now.
Because we don't have any body cameras,
No, we do. We do, yeah.
but they age out.
They can. The ones that we have right now are efficient. They're Motorola. They're not the greatest in the world. I mean, like, if you give a police officer a piece of equipment, he'll have 1,000 critiques on what can make it better. But they do what we need them to do. They have saved me a lot of headache personally for if somebody files a complaint against an officer, whether it's true, false, or, you know, there's two sides to a story. The first thing I do is I obviously take their information, they fill out a complaint form, I look at the body camera.
And how long do you keep that, data from the body camera?
Depends. So like if we have like a felony case, like if it's a sex assault or if it's drugs or domestic violence or something like that, what we do is we go through our body camera system, we take the video and we assign it the case number from our computer system, and it preserves it for an indefinite amount of time. Just, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yep.
That's really, really good.
Yeah, technology is.
But it
leaps and
changes
bounds.
so much.
Even when I started, body cams weren't a thing.
Yeah, and it changes so much. That's why I was wondering if they just get outdated like a regular computer.
Sure, it's just like, maybe,
Not
you know,
as bad.
companies change their software and stuff. It's just like anything. If I get a brand new Toyota in 20 years, or 5 years,
Oh,
they're gonna have, you know what I mean?
3
Yeah.
years.
3 months.
Yeah. Well, I don't get to buy a lot of new vehicles, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Move on, we have the police commission. We thought that we had some people coming out, but apparently the 3 members of the police commission served for 4 years. Will Bernard came on in June. Well, we thought he came on actually November 9th, 2021. So he's almost, in November, he'll be at 4 years. Both Nat Davis and Mike Keys came on in 22, so their term doesn't expire till 26. So we will be looking at least one, come November. And I don't know, does this commission serve you well?
It's a good question.
I haven't had any major hiccups with our current police commission, no.
Well, I think they're there to help you, so the question is, what could they do that would help you better?
Sure. That's something that I would have to think on
Think on
before I
that.
gave like a real answer.
Yeah. Because then the mayor could give them a new task or, you know.
Sure, yeah. You know, they're all fantastic. I've had nothing but positive dealings with all of them. You know, Will Bernard, he's a saint.
Yeah,
This guy was fighting fires in a different state and remoted in while he was on another assignment to confirm an officer.
yeah.
yeah, these, you know, they do a lot, and it's just, you know, it's unfortunate because they're there to, you know, confirm applicants and stuff like that, and it's one of those things where I'm at the end of my process with the backgrounds and the criminal history and the financials and everything from A to Z. It's like I have to pull the trigger as quick as I possibly can to get everybody together. I know everybody has their own stuff going on, and it's a volunteer basis type of appointment.
Position, yeah.
Yeah, yep, so, I'm thankful that they've met me halfway thus far. I haven't had any issues with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, think on, you know,
I will,
what
if
they
there's
could
something
do.
additional, that's something that I do have to sit down and think about. If there's something additional that they can do to help, that's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if that's their only chore is to confirm applicants, they probably have a little extra time.
Sure, but like I said, everybody does have their own life.
Don't we know
Everybody
it?
has full-time jobs, you know?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
How often do y'all meet?
Just to meet or to like confirm like applicants?
Meet.
It's
It's not a.
not a standard thing, no.
As needed.
As needed, yeah.
Hmm.
If it's something where they'd like to meet quarterly or yearly, I have no issue with that. I'd love to do that.
Seems like there should be something regular.
So, Sandy, the reason why we had it on the agenda was council wanted to, public safety, to decide if we wanted to change the term to match the state.
Oh,
Because the state is 3,
Right.
And ours is
4.
4. I would probably recommend matching the state. Yeah.
So what happens is, there are state ordinances, and you guys have all known from the book that there's the things that cities can do, and you can do everything, we're a self-governed, you can do everything except this list. When we set ours at the time, we set it to match what was then the state standard back in the 70s, but the state standard has changed from 4 to 3.
So it's a little outdated.
So we're just behind, but ours still preempts theirs.
If we did 3, then we would have both Nate and Mike that.
They would finish out their term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like planning board, new appointees are for that amount of time.
Well, their
Existing
term would be
appointees
up, you
still-
mean, finish the last year?
They would finish, their current term is 4, it would stay 4. It's just anyone new coming on board would go to the 3-year term.
Do we know what the month of appointment was?
I want to say it was March, but it's because we were getting ready to do it right
Okay.
now, and that's when we discovered we were
It was,
off.
it was February 8th
February 8th, okay.
for those 2.
I see, okay.
So that was why we kind of are looking at that,
Mhm.
because we thought it was 3 years, which means that they're done.
Sure.
And having 2 out of 3 expire at the same time is another issue that we might talk about,
Mm-hmm.
because it would be better if they were staggered.
Yeah. Like I said, I have no problem meeting with police commission quarterly, yearly, whenever, you know, whatever they see fit, that's totally fine with me. Knock on wood, I will not have to utilize them for application confirmation anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's just a resolution.
Just for the SRO.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that does need to go to council to discuss the 3-year.
Well, or just, if you guys decide you want to, so it would be a resolution, right, correct, to change it?
No,
Or
it's actually, I think it's an ordinance.
an ordinance, so you just have to change the ordinance, amend the ordinance, for an ordinance that's out there, and then present that to council.
All I have to do is find it online.
Lonnie has it for you, she's chased it down, so she
Ah.
can get it.
Great. So we'll go ahead and write an ordinance.
Amend the current ordinance,
So
all you have to
amend.
do is just amend the current ordinance. Because that was actually updated 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3, I guess.
So I'll put that on the next agenda. Snow ordinance enforcement, how's that going? I guess the mayor would be the one. I know that you said that you sent out letters to the chief offenders.
We still, I mean, this is an ongoing thing, so Brian and the police both have access to the letters to hand out on an as-needed basis. I don't, did council decide at this point they're not, this is just if you're changing wording or not? if you guys are modifying what we're enforcing. We're still enforcing it based on the conversation we had.
Right.
Which is what I thought we decided at the last council
Yeah,
meeting,
but-
is that we
but
have it,
is-
just enforce it.
Yeah, is there no changes that want to be made? It may be that this is done and, but we also didn't address anything off of Broadway.
Right.
If
Right.
you want to address things off of Broadway,
And for how far? I mean, throughout town? I mean,
that's council's purview, so.
And you could address it so that it's throughout all of Red Lodge, like Bozeman does.
Most
Or
towns
you
have
could-
something, but we don't have the ability to enforce anything outside of that Broadway.
Right,
Yeah,
because that's all
district.
that's all it affects right now.
or we could restrict it to just school routes.
Your council, you may do whatever you desire
What do you guys think?
collectively.
Doug, what do you think about, I mean, I'm not really for everybody clearing every sidewalk in Red Lodge, because there's too many people that come just for the summer.
Well, then they have to hire to get it done.
Right, you
Because they're
can't
not
be
residents.
selective, I mean, you can't make an
The
ordinance that's
people don't
selective.
even use the sidewalks, they walk in the street.
It's because it's.
No, because the sidewalks aren't contiguous. Or
Well,
there's
they
trees
are.
overhanging it,
Right,
or,
but that's part of it too, the sidewalk ordinance would also include making sure that your tree isn't blocking the sidewalk.
yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing, you
And
know?
I've seen people park and block the sidewalk because they're parked in the driveway. It just kind of keeps going and going.
Well, I mean, that's all about having an ordinance that addresses that, and then if we have, you know, a part-time code enforcer, then they would be responsible for enforcing the code. I mean, you gotta start somewhere, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, that's why I was thinking, starting with the, school routes.
But,
You
but I
know.
do think that sidewalks shouldn't be blocked. I mean, I think, and
Oh, I
having
agree.
trees and bushes over
And
sidewalks.
cars.
And cars, yeah, I mean, that's all.
You know, it's in fairness, when we were researching this and looking to what to enforce, we were looking specifically at snow-based stuff. I wonder if there's a separate ordinance in there that just talks about, when you talk about trees and stuff, if there's a general
There has to be something
thing
there.
that talks about someplace other than snow.
There's
Yeah.
something there, 'cause years ago, I got a notice that my tree was hanging over the sidewalk. And I had to trim
something
the-
not just
trim
zoning
the
too.
limb.
That's something that I've never personally, I mean, like, I'm sure it's there, but
Yeah.
personally, I've never dealt with that or had to complain about that. Normally, like, for something like a stop sign, when trees are like growing over the top of it, I've seen Public Works go out and just handle that right away.
I've seen that a lot, actually.
Have you really?
Yeah, especially a couple over here.
You never know how important that is until there's a crash, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well, and there's like bushes, you know, hedges and stuff like that,
Sure.
that get too tall, and then they walk past the sidewalk and get. I used to walk to work when I, you know, lived on South Platte, and, I always took the sidewalk, and even up there, when I walk, I always use the sidewalk. And I think more people need to get in the habit of using sidewalks and not walking down the middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a safety issue, especially when the roads are icy and, I don't know, when there's a lot of traffic.
so, it's just, like, how far do we wanna go? I mean, if we require the whole town who has a sidewalk, they're gonna be yelling HOA. And,
No, well, there's a difference. I mean, a sidewalk is a public transportation issue. I mean, it's a safety issue. We're not telling them to clean up their backyard. We're telling them that this is, city right of way, and it's your responsibility to keep it clear and to keep it walkable.
yes,
I'm just gathering my thoughts here. You know, I think if we were talking about Broadway, we should go one block to the east or west. Because Snow Creek is on a corner, bookstore's on a corner, you're on a corner. I just think we should at least try to, go one block to the
It goes-
east or west.
Currently, it goes to the alley.
Okay,
it's a
But-
half a
so
block.
when you
I-
say you say sidewalks, Broadway,
It
common
includes-
sense tells you it should go to the alley? Is that,
No, it already does.
we
go to
know
the alley.
common sense doesn't prevail,
goes
but-
to-
Our
That's-
ordinance,
that's-
our ordinance is Broadway and to that alley, which is the first half
Okay.
block on either side.
Okay, cool, that's great.
And I would be okay if it went all the way to the next street as well. I
Yeah.
mean, that's typically, I mean, it's not.
I
A
think
lot of people park on Platt, or they park on Hauser or Oak.
Sure, yeah, especially during.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go on Facebook and get the public's view on everybody clearing sidewalks, one block, you know, east or west of Broadway versus sidewalks for school routes. Then we'd have to determine exactly what those school routes are, which is probably wherever the school already has some routes.
Well, our block is really good by Adams, because there's typically a bus stop
Right,
down there at 19th and Adams, so we always try to,
and those are the types of things.
not everybody, and I just don't think that because you're a second homeowner, that's an excuse not to do snow removal at all.
I agree.
No. If you can afford a second home, you can have somebody remove your snow for you.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm correctly or incorrectly assuming that those homes that are used for vacation rental,
They should be taken
that
care of by the property
that they're
manager.
probably taken care of by the property manager. Although, no, that's not true. Yeah. The other question is, I saw the coolest thing that, and I'm trying to remember where it was, you know, where we're cutting holes in the berm for a walkway.
Yeah.
Somebody actually had these sticks with a sign on them that said public walkway or
Wilmington
something.
had skis or something that said Patrick or something.
Yeah, it was really
It was
cool.
Black,
Did you see it?
Canyon Bistro, is where I saw it
Is where,
yesterday.
yeah, there were two of them.
Mhm.
And I thought, what a great idea, because when you park, you're kind of looking for that, and you're walking outside in the street, looking for a break so that you don't have to climb over the berm.
And I'm assuming it's also there not to block it. Is that, would
Yeah,
that be an
they don't,
assumption?
people don't block.
I would assume that, but that would be a really wrong assumption, because,
You can't stop people from parking right in front of it.
yeah, so that you have to try to sidle along.
I didn't even think about that, I'm guilty of it.
Not parking right in, so that the middle of your car is right at the walkway.
So you
Yeah,
can get out.
Yeah.
makes it easier on me.
Yeah, I try not to block them.
That's a good point.
Sometimes you just can't.
That's a good point. On an unrelated note too, the mayor, put Brian Hanna and I together from, city building inspector. And he's currently working and going through the application process in the portal with MDOT for the vehicle speedback signs, which,
Oh, okay.
yep, so what we discussed is taking the existing poles, that hold our speed limit signs, one of which being where I get a lot of traffic complaints, is the intersection of Broadway Avenue South and 19th Street West. There's a 35 to 25 speed limit change there. There's one on the top of 3rd Street or Highway 78, that, advises 35 going down the hill. And then the other one is I should know this, the 25 or 35 mile per hour speed limit sign on Broadway Avenue North, just north of, First Street.
Right,
So we have the existing poles, that way Public Works doesn't have to drill another hole or dig out another hole to put these feedback signs in there. And so he's moving pretty quickly with that. He's already called the state of Montana, the MDOT, the people that we put the application in, they approve it, and they already said.
have those signs already been, purchased?
They're in the budget, we have not acquired them until we're ready to put them in, but like I said, we're going for this year in spring, so
Yeah.
this
And
is
that
just,
was
this is
3 or
just a-
4?
3.
So it'd be on Brewery Hill.
Yep.
North of the roundabout and at the
Yes.
other end of town at 19.
Yes.
Basically where all the 25 mile an hour zones are.
Yeah, one of them's a 35.
Yep, 35, okay.
Actually, 2 of them are 35s, because they're coming down the hill.
3rd Street, yeah, that's right.
I thought coming down the hill changes to 25.
It does,
It
but
does.
the people are speeding long before they get to there, so if we can
Oh,
get
yeah.
them slowed down to 35, then 25 will become an option.
These will get them slowed down, going down the hill, and then the roundabout will get them slowed down a lot more before they get to it. Because
Slide through the
it's not like the old days where it was what was that, 3-way stop?
No, there was,
Or a 2?
do we remember?
I do. I do, because that was all a vacant lot.
There was 2
when I
really
took-
nasty fatalities down there, so.
Oh, jeez, yeah, that wasn't,
Yeah, the
No.
roundabout made a big difference.
yeah, it was a big dirt lot in like 3-way intersection.
Okay, I can't remember, isn't that funny?
I can't either. I just remember that you could sit there a long time before, oh, it must
I actually have it
stopped.
printed out on a map hanging on our wall in the office of the whole Red Lodge, it was like back in like '06, '07.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to require our businesses on Broadway to do those cuts in the berms?
No.
That's a lot.
No.
That's,
Well, once you
I'm-
do it, it's easier the rest of the winter.
No, not after a big snowstorm like we just had. That stuff is, no. It's hard enough to keep my corner cleared off.
I would say too, considering who the business owners are, they might not be able-bodied to dig out, because that stuff turns to ice after it's
It's
plowed and
awful.
pushed up against the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Once MDT goes through, they're gone.
Yeah.
That's the real issue.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like when the state plows and plows constantly, it's hard enough to keep your walk clear.
Mm.
I was just thinking for safety, having people walk out in the street looking for one. I love the idea that what Black Canyon did. I think that was absolutely genius.
They also have somebody who does their snow removal for them with the.
But I still, it's genius to mark where it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if people pay like, one of the companies to do it and they have a machine, they'll go through and do that. But when you're just a business owner that's doing your own and you're using a shovel, no.
Yeah, well, we do it. Because we want them to come in our front door, so we do it right in front of the front door.
Well, I have a corner. I have
that's a good incentive.
Yeah, Yeah.
two corner.
okay.
Keep cleared.
So,
Trash. Oh, boy.
yeah, so I'll get some feedback on cleaning all sidewalks versus all the other things we discussed. And I'll get that from good old Facebook, which I hate going to, but they do have discussions on there. I'll try to keep up on it. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure it's the best avenue to go. I mean, shouldn't
I'm
we as
open.
a council make a decision?
Well, I'd like to hear what the people think.
Well, I mean, what if the people say, no, I don't think we should keep any sidewalk clean?
Well, then we talk to the council and say, well, the people aren't for it. What do you guys feel?
Yeah, I'm
from
just not a
the point
big
of
fan of
safety?
Well, they might
Facebook,
also
you
be
get
on
an
that for
opinion.
pulling over speeders either.
I think that they probably are.
Well,
I mean-
you know, you can do what you want, I'm just saying that's my
I was just
point
looking
of
for
view.
some feedback, rather than do it and then have this have this place completely full of people screaming and yelling at us. At least they had a say.
Come to our meeting, we're discussing this.
Well, I was,
Yeah,
I would think you'd invite a lot of bitching.
that's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
That's why I don't go on Facebook.
But that's not beneficial though, and that's what you're gonna get.
You're gonna get the people who,
I would say, call me, text me. And I always did that back in the day, and no one ever called or texted. Well,
I know,
we
they
didn't have
don't.
texting back then, but, you know,
Yeah, they don't.
they don't really communicate with you like you think
Until
they
it's
would.
done.
I was gonna say, yeah, until it's time to make a decision, that's when everybody comes together, but like the
Yeah.
preliminary process of like gathering intel.
personally, I don't see Red Lodge passing an all over snow removal right away, but, I mean, Bozeman did it, it took a couple years, and they enforce it, like, yeah.
Yeah, I got a buddy from Bozeman that
Yeah.
told me about that. He
And,
said
and that went into effect when I was in college, and
Oh, did that?
we had to double our walk, or you would get a big fine.
But I mean,
And
that's
everyone
not,
started doing it.
I mean, you mentioned Bozeman, but there's a lot of cities where that's mandatory.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
Yeah.
so it's not a big deal, it's just, we have a hard time agreeing on if we're gonna enforce what we got. I mean, we talk about this for weeks, we're talking about a snow ordinance, we can't make a decision? I mean, that's sad. Make a decision and go, don't worry about what the public says. I mean,
Well,
you're not gonna make a radical
For
decision.
representing the public, it's nice to get the public input.
Well, do that on your own time, when we come in this room, we make a decision.
Yeah, that's why I said that I would double check put it out there and let's hear what people think.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put it out there as public health and safety and.
Well, and I do think though, we need to, focus on, in the summertime too, the overgrown trees and bushes,
I'll address that too.
How can we get people so they're not walking down the middle of the road? Instead of, have them actually use the sidewalks we have. safety.
I usually see that there's like 2 people, sometimes 3 people, and 2 dogs, and the sidewalks aren't wide enough. And that's what they're walking side by side. And that's kind of more of what I see on Hagen. But I'm on South Hagen, so it's kind of
Yeah,
away from the
there's no
bulk of the
sidewalks
traffic.
on 19th Street, and they walk down the middle of the road all the time, and at night, and it's really dark there.
And do you see the same thing, 2 people, 3 people?
No, there's just no sidewalks on 19th Street, so there's no sidewalks for them to use, so that's an issue too.
Yeah, that's an expensive issue. So I'll address the overgrown trees and bushes to make sure the sidewalks are passable. That should be fun.
We don't have much time.
Trash ordinance. What is it that are we still talking about the big bins?
So in kind of in line with Doug's comments, the snow ordinance is enforceable, and the only question to hear is, do you want us enforcing something different than what you have on the books, in which case you have to change the books?
Right.
The trash ordinance, the issue we have is the trash ordinance is written, is not enforceable. In other words, the trash ordinance says, basically addresses and assumes that the only cans in town are the bear cans. And so it doesn't cover building dumpsters or commercial dumpsters or anything else. And so the answer is, because we can't enforce it, please fix it so we can.
And I've heard over the years that, like behind some of the restaurants and stuff, that they've been told that they have to have them locked. So,
The city has not told them that. I think some do it so that other people don't utilize their services, which is theft of services, because the trash ordinance does say you can't put your trash in somebody else's bin.
right, yeah.
And people go down.
But like I said,
dump their garbage.
the specific thing that kind of brought this to light was people complaining about construction dumpsters that didn't have lid. And we have been working, the building inspector's been working with telling people they need to, mostly because it's not allowed to blow and, you know, but when we got into the ordinance, what it actually says is, it will be a sealed bear can, which means we'd have to go out and write a ticket to everybody, including a half a dozen to the city, out at the recycling center. You know, so the answer is, please fix it. To Doug's point, we'll enforce what's on the books if it's enforceable. I'm telling you, the trash ordinance, we have not determined that it's enforceable.
It's not taking into account dumpsters, because they are not,
It's not addressing them at all.
yeah, exactly, so you need to add the dumpsters in there.
Are we talking about construction dumpsters?
And none of the dumpsters are in
Anything that isn't a bear can is out of compliance in the city of Montana,
the city of Redlands.
or city of Redlands, thank you, I'm adopted.
And that's unreasonable, because
So
dumpsters are not there.
we could add to amend the ordinance to include dumpsters that they need to have lids on them when they're
Well-
not in use.
Construction dumpsters normally don't have lids on them. They are big rollaways that they bring in.
They don't have a lid,
They don't have a lid.
but we could require them to only use the dumpsters that do have a lid.
Well, I don't know that you need to do that necessarily.
Well,
It's construction material, the bears aren't necessarily gonna get in there.
yeah, but the stuff that could fly out of there.
And we've had stuff that does fly. The problem is, the only thing we have on the books that could be used is littering, and you basically have to watch it blow out of that and then go over and pick it up and say, I saw this blow out of your
And
can.
this is yours, yeah.
This is yours, because if there's 3 or 4,
I would do
Construction
some
sites.
research with, the dumpster places to see if that's even an option on those great big dumpsters, if they have lids for those.
and the last construction dumpster that came into town, they did bring out a tarp kit for it, because they said in Rutland, you need to contain your trash. So we have worked with the companies that are providing those, but again, we're going back to, there were people screaming, hey, and by the way, where are those dumpsters allowed to be? Are they allowed to be on the street? Because there's no place else to put them. And so just construction dumpsters were a big part of the flag that was there, but we have people that go, and so what we did in this particular case is, the police went by, the fire went by and said, we don't deem that to be a public safety hazard, and that's fine. Because that's the only place you could put a dumpster, is in front of the construction site.
In
There
the
are
right-
houses
in
on
the
either
right of way.
side. Yeah,
In the
you
right-
can't put it in the middle of the lot, you're building a house there.
Well, I mean, requiring a lid is not gonna help, because the user, the construction guy, he's not gonna open it and shut it every time you use it. He's gonna open it for the day, close it at the end of the day, but that doesn't accomplish it. The wind can blow it out during the day.
Well, but they're there if that happens, so they go out and do it, so. But you're on target of what is it you want it to be.
Right.
Some of the windstorms that come through in the middle of the night too, I mean,
Yeah.
it can be
That's,
violent.
that's when we see the problems is they've left for the day and they didn't cover it. So, but you could say, it will be covered when
When
there's
not
not,
used.
when there's not
Right.
workers on site.
Right.
Yeah.
And even with the, you know, the location on the right-of-way, that those dumpsters have a life thing. In other words, you only rent it for X amount of time. And
Well-
so you could limit the amount of time that it was in the right-of-way.
Well, it depends on the build.
Yeah.
I mean, you can rent them for like a whole summer if you're gonna be building for the whole summer.
And you could limit the bear, anything that would attract bears needs to be in a bear-proof can, rather than
Definitely.
saying that's the only dumpster that's allowed
Right.
in town.
And I think the restaurant that I'm thinking actually had to put a lock on it.
To make it bear-proof.
Yeah.
They're crafty.
I think it was the cafe and
And
they,
I can see that for a bear-proof reasoning.
yeah, it was the cafe and they opened the lid and there was a bear in the dumpster. Of course, it was syrup.
Well, the dumpsters have,
Ooh, you seen that?
the dumpsters have hooks. I mean, in the summer, we latch ours, so
I've
they're
got-
like those
I've
little.
seen some of them that just have carabiners, which keep a bear out, but not the neighbors.
That's what I mean, a carabiner. That's-
Ours
yeah,
have
that's what ours
carabiners.
has, so,
In the back of my office, but we're not throwing away tasty stuff out there.
yeah. And
I've seen them push over grease traps though, and roll around in them.
when I
Oh,
first
boy.
started the market, I
Yeah.
had to put locks
And
on it because
I've heard that one too.
Yeah, and see, there's pictures of it. It's-
And they smell already.
Yeah, it's comical, but it doesn't, it's not the most pleasant.
Madam Chair, we've got to start another meeting in 5 minutes, so.
Okay. Well, we actually made some progress. So, everybody write down your concept of dumpster rules that we might enforce or might be enforceable. Both for, commercial that are always there, like behind the, that are always there. There are some dumpsters that are there permanently, and they're on private property. Mostly for the restaurants. Construction dumpsters are different, that we could require them to have a lid when not in use, type of thing.
We haven't mentioned the cages that they all come with now. Isn't that the same thing?
You talking about
The
dumpsters?
cage on top.
Not all vendors provide that, so
It's brilliant.
we could, I mean, like I said, we could say that construction dumpsters are required to have, and then that kind of limits who they rent it from.
If I ever get a dumpster, I'm getting a cage. I don't trust anybody.
Probably
It's
more.
not, it's not the bears, it's the middle of the night dumping.
Oh, yeah, that's
The
a thing.
mattress dumpers.
I would,
That's a thing,
they would,
yep.
2:00 in the morning, go dump my stuff. And anyway,
They do it all, yeah.
And location of them as
Probably
well.
somebody like decided to unload a couch down by T-Mobile Bridge, so.
oh,
Well, that's why
Somebody,
Rotary
I thought
doesn't have
somebody
one.
using, or you
anymore.
called it in, somebody was using yours for quite a while too, and
Yeah.
it turned out it was a camper
Yeah,
that was,
just coming in and
yeah,
dumping his stuff.
Yeah.
Rotary Park had to give up their dumpster because people were coming in south of town and putting their trash in it.
I know, well, you know, it's,
Yeah, the problem there was, once the dumpster got full, people just stacked it in the vicinity.
Right.
well, and that's
They're
my,
there,
that's
right.
what happened to mine, my
Right.
dumpster was full, and he just held it all on top, and I couldn't close my lid or anything, boxes and garbage, and I'm like,
nice that you.
Madam Chair, did you amend this, or did you adjourn officially?
I will officially adjourn.
it's by